Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, TrackStat, and MSculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 454 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Patrick Collins. And if you want to hear the story about how to handle the most injured patients, relationships is the answer. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It's episode 454 today. And I have Patrick Collins, DC, JD, on with me today. It's going to be a very informative episode. We're going to talk a lot about his expertise within the chiropractic world. And I think it's going to be a very huge learning opportunity for a lot of people that are going to tune in to this episode. But before we jump into episode 454, I'm going to let you guys know the big why. Why do we do what we do at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is we protect freedom of speech with our show. As we know, over the past couple of years, it's been a huge challenge to find good journalistic outlets. And we do that for chiropractic. And by doing that, we protect BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. And if you don't know what that means, please go to your favorite search engine right now and find out what BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust was. It's his last words. So if you go and search for BJ Palmer's last words, you'll find it. And you'll learn a whole lot more about chiropractic. The other parts about chiropractic that we support are subluxation-based chiropractic. We also support innate intelligence and universal intelligence. And we believe that when a person gets adjusted, it connects man or woman, the physical, to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that being said, Patrick Collins, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a big job that you're doing, man. And I want to get into that. But I'd really like you to just kind of share with us your chiropractic story and how you got into becoming a chiropractor.
Well, I was a middle-aged conversion to chiropractic. My undergraduate degree was in aviation management. I graduated as a commercial pilot, and that was in 1990. I was in the Colorado National Guard for 10 years, and I wanted to fly airplanes for the Air Force. But after Desert Storm had ended, the Air Force was cutting back on their forces, doing what's called a RIF, a reduction in force. And I had worked for them, and the airlines were going through, it was going through a recession, and they were laying off people too. So one of the things that I did do was to go work for the railroad. They were looking for airline pilots and military pilots that were being cut back. And I worked there, driving trains through the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, some of the most dangerous, steepest terrain in the nation, if not the world. And that's when I injured myself and was told I may have to go have surgery or injections, and was really not into that. And I went and got adjusted for my first time. And I met a doctor named Brad Hennon, who later talked me into going to Palmer. He adjusted me, and not only did my back pain go away, but I no longer had to carry an asthma rescue inhaler or pop 100 pills of Tums a month for terrible acid indigestion that I had suffered with for all my life. And that was it in my mid 30s. And that's when I went to Palmer. I made the decision to change my life to help people instead of working for somebody else.
You know, the semblance there of being a chiropractor midlife is pretty powerful. And I think that a lot of times people that, you know, find chiropractic They find it through something that you specialize in is collision and accident care. But a lot of times people come into it because they have, the headaches or, some type of musculoskeletal issue with like, low back pain. Cause, over the lifetime, this probably over the lifetime of somebody from like cradle to grave, 80% of the people are going to have some type of low back issue. And if not, they're going to have some type of cervical curve issue. And with the technology today, it's not getting any easier for people with their desk jobs and the way that they stare at their screens and phones all day. So, um, a lot of times people come into chiropractic because of musculoskeletal issues, but really what you specialize in is helping them find solutions for recovery. And now you have distinction of Esquire as an attorney. So I think it's really cool that you have duality and you never settle like with your with your path of life. Like first thing aviation, second thing, you know, chiropractic, and now attorney. So let's talk about how you transition from chiropractic into becoming an attorney.
Well, I'm a Palmer graduate, so I'm classically trained wellness doctor. I was Guy Reekman, I believe I was his last graduating class before he went off to life. So when I came out, I had a well-rounded practice. I didn't really go into it to see PI, but I kind of ran into a lot of my patients got injured and they needed treatment, and I decided to start treating them. And that's kind of when it hit me that there's a difference between a person who comes in for a non-traumatic subluxation adjustment and a traumatic subluxation adjustment. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, it doesn't matter what what caused it, that the treatment's the same, and so therefore it's the same. But as I treated people who had been injured through trauma, usually in car wrecks or falls or something like that, it became evident that it took a lot longer to get them well if you were able to, and that the mechanism of injury was different and the treatment was different, and also that you had an obligation, especially when you work with an insurance company, to prove the extent of the injury, to prove what caused the injury, what the prognosis is, and to put a number as close as you can on any kind of disability that comes out of there, and what the future treatments are.
Yeah, when I hear about what you're doing, it's a very specialized like world that you live in, and I think that's one of the curiosities when I met you at the Colorado Chiropractic Associations that like really drew me to you, because I was like, I'm sure you're going to be able to deliver a lot of great takeaways to people that are looking to, number one, find clarity within the accident injury world. Number two, know how to best take on a case and like to actually help the patient the best way, and not from an attorney's perspective, but from a chiropractor's perspective. And I think that both those things could really give some reckoning to people that are watching or that will listen to this. But before we do any more, chat about what those solutions might be, I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, so I grew up in Palmer land. So I have a a huge love for Palmer College and what they've done for the world of chiropractic, and I'm really excited to hear that that's where you went to school. And I think that historically Palmer, before I got in 14 years ago working in the chiropractic world, I thought every chiropractor came from Palmer.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
um, so let's just talk a little bit about that. Like if people wanted to find the best way to find PI cases and help them, what would your recommendations be?
Well, I get asked that question all the time, and I've gotten a lot of emails from companies who advertise that they can help chiropractors find, chiropractors be able to make a practice that is strictly off of referrals from personal injury attorneys. And I haven't seen it. The only people that I've ever seen get a regular PI practice off of referrals from attorneys are people who are, in the community of the, on the board of examiners or something like that. They have a huge business that's closely linked to a personal injury firm. Most of the doctors, probably well over 85% of the doctors that I see are solos, and they're gonna, their main source is going to be from their client base, from their patient base, not just from the patients them, but the education of their patients. The chiropractic in Colorado, most of them are wellness-based doctors, and I understand the difference between wellness and symptom-based care. But chiropractic is very good. It should be the number one thought of treatment for anybody who has a traumatic spinal injury, and the in-office education to their client base, who then what a lot of great chiropractic practices do, they turn the patients on, and the patients go out and sell the practice and the doctor on their own.
Yeah, I think that's really good response because there is a lot of confusion still on how to like find people to help for chiropractors. Like new patients is a problem, I think, across the board, unless you have a really established practice. And I was talking to a chiropractor last week on one of my interviews. He's been a chiropractor for 40 years. And I said, hey, I have a few ideas that might help your group. And he's like, well, what are they? And this was after the interview. And he's like, gosh, can you give a webinar to my my 400 chiropractors that I manage about this technique? And I go, it's so easy. Do you mind if I share that with our audience?
No, not at all.
So I said, what you got to do is go around to all the urgent care practices within your local community. And you got to have coffee with the people that are actually the practitioners inside of those facilities, and help build a solution for least invasive first for the people that come in with trauma. And you got to become referable from them because they want people to get better too. And they just don't know how to send these people into a different method of care. They're taught classically in Western medicine how to administer drugs and shots and surgery, and they don't know that there's a solution within chiropractic. But I think that a lot of things that you said there, they're based on relationships. So if you get into your community and you build relationships with other practitioners, I think that that's a great referral hub. And then there's this ugly word some chiropractors don't like in the chiropractic world called the joint, and it's a franchise, and they don't do x-rays, and they don't do trauma care, and they don't do hot discs. So I would also recommend going and building a relationship with those local practitioners in those facilities and saying, look, I want to be a solution for the cases that you can't take. And I want to build a referral hub with you guys too. So I think those two like takeaways right there for marketing going into 2023 could be huge solutions to a lot of maybe your clients also, to how that they can build grassroots approach to getting those cases that, that are, I don't know the proper terminology for it, but they're unhinged, or they're free cases, and these people need care. And the people that are inside those facilities, they don't know really where to send those people. And I think that it's all relationship based. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, it's kind of amazing because, we do all of our in-house marketing. And as of right now, I've got a young lady in our office, and it's her job, and she goes and sees urgent cares. She'll also see freestanding pain management facilities, ones that are not connected directly with a higher health care, with the hospital or something like that. Those people don't have any impetus to refer to the hospital or to advanced medical care. Now, in some cases they have to, and that's fine. Anything that has an instability with the spine, or it has severe radiculopathy, and there's muscle wasting or drop foot or any kind of a red flag. But we go directly to those and we market to them on a regular basis. And one of the big keys is to find out who the person is that does make those referrals. Because when we go talk to an urgent care or a freestanding pain doctor, or even an orthopedic surgeon or a neurosurgeon, who most of those, they do more evaluations than they do surgery. As a matter of fact, they have to get in most cases, a conservative treatment plan done before they're even considered for surgeries. Find out the person is that makes that referral. A lot of times it's not the doctor. A lot of times it's the office manager. We do that, exactly what you just spoke about, in our office, and we've reinvented that, by reinventing the wheel. I wish I had figured that out 10 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars of TV commercials and social marketing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Patrick, is people just need to go to the top of the food chain when they're building a business and they're building a brand. And a lot of times I hear these chiropractors say, "Oh, I just have a referral-based practice." Well, that's fine. I think that those are the best, because that takes all the pressure off of the doc to actually become successful. But I do think that if you're going to go out there and hunt and gather, that you need to go to obvious places. And a lot of people overlook these things. I'm a master of screening events. Like, I can go out to a 10 by 10 booth in any community with any event on any given weekend and get somebody 30 to 100 patients. But that's not the typical for most chiropractors. So I think that a lot of what they need to go do is build relationships within the communities. And why wouldn't you go to the top of the food chain and find people that are actually the ones that have those types of cases that are looking for least invasive care? And if you can find those people that are looking for like a rehab like style care, which is chiropractic, a lot of people that watch our show, they're like, clear out the subluxation, let the body heal. Well, I think that a lot of these people in the Western medicine world don't understand that at all.
The best bang for your buck, the best use of your time, is to go directly to the gatekeeper. Instead of shotgunning, for people as they walk down the street, a targeted approach to the people who control those and have a referral source is the way to go. And I think it's excellent to go to doctors who only do wellness, because I go see the joint all the time. I tell them, give me those clients and I will get them to care. It will, you want to keep them as a patient. You want to keep them happy. You want to keep them treated, and get results out of it. And that's been a lucrative source. And so our wellness in Colorado, we 20 years ago, we were very heavily insurance based. Both, not just auto insurance, but health insurance, and it is 100% changed now. The most successful doctors that I know are wellness based, and the majority of them do not know how to treat a trauma victim where an insurance company is involved. It's totally different than the way they're practicing.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, TrackStat, and mSculpt. Let's hustle.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good to know from you. What recommendations would you give to somebody that is looking to incorporate and work with attorneys, or what advice would you give to somebody that's looking to take care of trauma patients?
Well, the first and most important thing to understand is it doesn't matter how great the case is how much objective evidence you have, how great a doctor it is. If you don't use a competent attorney and have a good working relationship and trust with an attorney, it doesn't matter how great the case is. It's not gonna, you're not gonna get the results that you want. You've got to, you got to understand, when an attorney graduates from law school, you can represent people doing a lot of things, in divorces and criminal matters and mortgage closings, or you can go and represent somebody who's been severely injured in an injury, in a trauma through no fault of their own. In Colorado, like there is in a lot of states throughout the country, there's no education requirement beyond getting a law degree. You do not study a single thing in law school that allows you to evaluate a case. And one of the most dangerous things in this country is the national law firms, the billion-dollar law firms that are taking over. One of the things is, and I've worked for some big law firms, is that not to pass judgment, but those attorneys have so many cases. I don't believe they could do the best job that they can, even if they wanted to. They're every major national law firm that I know of works on a mass case basis, where their attorneys have several hundred cases. And you're talking about, we have some complicated cases that have tens of thousands of pages of documents, of medical documents, of reports, of the police reports and stuff like that. You have hundreds of those. You're looking at millions of pages of documents. The attorney has to be able to understand the case. The attorney has to be able to understand the evidence. I worked with an attorney who settled an L5 burst fracture for less than minimal policy limits. And when I asked him why you did that, he said, well, the insurance adjuster told me that was a bone, and bones heal, and you break your arm and it heals. You don't have any problems with that. And I shook my head. It's like, you have and this guy was doing this for over 30 years, thousands, if not tens of thousands of cases. And that is what the majority of the personal injury attorneys look like. They don't have any experience unless they went out of their way. And I don't know of any training that's gonna tell you how to look at those cases, look at the doctor's notes, look at the radiology reports, and tell what is a significant injury and what isn't. My old joke is, an attorney doesn't know the difference between a straight razor or a straight leg razor. They don't know what they're looking at when they get it. They wouldn't know how to ask for the appropriate money if they do not know what the injury is, what the objective evidence that's behind it, and what the sequelae is from that injury. They'll settle those every day, tens of thousands of times a year across the United States, and the people, unfortunately, settle that case quicker than they should have, and they pay for it later on in their life.
Yeah, so what it sounds like is that the caseload is too heavy for most attorneys, and the attorneys are dictating policy on treatment plans, and the doctor has to sequester to the objective reasoning of a heavy loaded attorney firm. And that sounds like it's not always in the best interest of the person that's, the person that matters the most is the person that's dealing with the file this thick, as you say, and that has a lot going on. So what are some solutions to people that are chiropractors looking to find answers in this like kind of murky water? Because I think, if I were just to give my advice, but I'm not the expert, but I think a chiropractor should find 20 to 30 attorneys and connect with them and see who resonates with them the most.
That there's really no shortcut way about it. It's all the outcome of that's going to be built on relationships and relationship building. That unfortunately, in this country, chiropractors and attorneys have been at each other's throats for decades, like vampires and werewolves. In the association, the attorney association I'm in Colorado, I mean, they out in the open, roundly, tear down chiropractors, and will not refer to them. I've had it where the attorney told the patient that you shouldn't see the chiropractor anymore, and the attorney had no business doing that. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's practicing chiropractic without a license. It all turns on to building relationships, and the way you need to is go meet as many attorneys as you can and ask them what their philosophy is, because in my office, our philosophy and the philosophy that I tell doctors of chiropractic is, you've got to treat them and exhaust every conservative option that you've got before you go further. And chiropractic is a necessary part of that. 95% of my clientele are chiropractic patients, but not to go too far off the path there. The only way to do it is to meet people in person and ask them what their philosophy is. The worst thing that happens is when you get an attorney who doesn't know what they're doing and they're incompetent and can't prove the case. So they say your chiropractor's responsible. They didn't prove the case. They overbilled and overtreated, when it's really the attorney who's responsible for it. And that is the business model of most large law firms that I know of, is to settle the cases quickly and shove the bills down the doctor's throat. And I know 90% of the doctors of chiropractic that will watch this know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they always want a reduction in fees,
regardless of what the case settles for, even if it's settled for hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. That is their business plan.
Mm-hmm. So I know that we're coming up on less than 5 minutes left of our chat today, but I think we've covered a lot of great stuff. And I know I could probably have you on 2 to 3 more times, and we probably would still have a great amount of information that we could share with people. So maybe we'll have a follow-up interview with you down the line here as we come into 2023. But I'm really curious to ask you if people are wanted to work with you, because I know that you have a specialty distinction within the chiropractic space as being a DC. What does that look like?
I mean, it's kind of what I do. I work with the Colorado Chiropractic Association. So in my state, I field calls from doctors all the time about all kinds of things. Usually what the best way to do is to either call my office or email me with a question and see if we can get it started from there. If I can help, I will. And if not, hopefully I can get you to somebody who can get you an answer.
Yeah, I think that's really encouraging, because I'm sure that this episode is going to be watched by thousands of chiropractors, and I'm sure that they're all going to have questions towards the end of this episode, like, hey, like, I have a case that needs to be taken care of. I have like an issue that needs to be like, I need some attention. So I think it's really cool. What is your website if we were going to send people over to chat with you?
My website is collinscoloradolaw.com. And there should be a link on there that somebody could get in touch with me, send an instant message or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I know that we have about 2 to 3 minutes left of our conversation today on this episode, but if people, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think we should be mentioning to people today?
Not really. I changed my profession about 10 years ago, and I've been in the medical legal profession for the last 20 years, and I have a lot of optimism over the future that due to the circumstances that have happened over the last couple of years, people are going to start looking very heavily for a different answer other than the one that they were raised with and their parents were raised with. Because obviously the paradigm, the manufactured reality that's been shoved down our throats since our birth is going to change. And there's a lot of people who are waking up and coming out of the matrix. And the thing is man, never lose the faith. I'll always be the beacon in the middle of the storm, and you will get people who will refer to you for the rest of your life, and not just professionally but socially and spiritually too, which we pretty much is non-existent in the country we live in today.
Yeah, there's a big concern for people finding truth in healthcare, and that's one of the reasons why we produce this show as much as we do, is because people are looking for solutions, and most people don't know where to go or who to trust. I've scheduled in about 6,000 people over the past 6 years to find a chiropractor at doing chiropractic screenings, and that's one of the things I tell people all the time is you can come in, you'll get a full exam, consultation, health history, and you get time to talk to a doctor about your concerns. And some of the things that are going on in your life, you might not even check on this intake form, but at least you're going to go in and see somebody that's actually going to listen to your health concerns and see if there's something they can do to help you. And I think that that's like the thing that most people are looking for, is they're looking for hope. They're looking for an open door, and they want somebody to listen to them.
Yeah. Medical doctors don't listen. Medical doctors talk.
Yeah, so that's the thing I love about the beautiful profession of chiropractic is they offer solutions to people that, unfortunately, they come in and they're like, I've tried this place and this place and this place. I spent X amount of dollars on this stuff and this stuff and this stuff, and nothing's helped. And then they get their Atlas rocked, or they get an L5 set, and they're like, why didn't anybody tell me this before?
Yep. We're still doing it the same way we did it over a century ago.
Well, let's close out. Tell us a miracle story. Tell me something that you've seen over the course of your career that really stands out to you, that you think would give some inspiration to our audience.
I was thinking about that, and it's been a while since I practiced chiropractic, 10 years. But one of the things that I got to say, the everyday miracle that I see in my office are people that came into my office and who were told that they had no other choice but to either have surgery. Most often the time it's spine fusion surgery, or to have cortisone injections in their facet joints or in their back. And I see it on a weekly basis where they were able to go to a chiropractor in conjunction with, or instead of going and seeing their surgeon, and they were able to completely, bypass that. And it just, I see it every day, people that were in a horrible wreck and have horrible looking films, either on MRI or X-ray, and they went to the best medical in the field. I mean, people that some of the doctors we work with are Ivy League graduates, and they have huge reputations, and almost like I said, the vast majority of our clients go see a chiropractor as well, and most of those are able to get out without any surgery. And I mean, I see that on a daily basis. If I couldn't pick one out right now, if I had to think about it.
Well, I think the most important thing you just shared with us is that chiropractic is least invasive and most effective. And it gets people back to their activities of daily living and back to a better quality of life. And I always tell people that chiropractic gives you years to your life and life to your years. And if you don't pay for health now, you'll pay for sickness later. And I think a lot of what we discussed today is true to that. So, Dr. Patrick Collins, I thank you for being my guest today on episode 454 of the Chiro Hustle podcast.
I sure appreciate you having me, James.
Yeah, and I look forward to our future together, and maybe I can help you with some of your needs to help more chiropractors. So I'll definitely be in touch with you.
Certainly. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Holidays.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.